It's always tricky to do John Wick without John Wick, but I think one of the fascinating things in the franchise to me is kind of the world creation. And in the features of John Wick, we have that 2 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes sometimes to explore the worlds. And it's usually, very John Wick centric. We're always with the characters, so we don't really have time to explore all the worlds, which is why TV and an anime are always exciting. But also the ancillary features, like Ballerina, give us a chance to explore that world. Is it something people want to see? I think so. Can we make the characters exciting and stuff? I think so. They're intrinsically going to be different than John Wick. I think if we just tried copying the same story of our protagonist, it would get redundant or feel a little bit out. But trying to give each of our leads a different story arc, I think, is what we're hoping for.
Eve is a ballerina in training to be an assassin, but by the Ruska Roma. She's very wounded and in a lot of pain and confusion because of something that happened when she was a child, when she saw some, men killing her dad. And that was something that she never got an answer about, and that was just stuck with her. So she really wants to get into the Ruska Roma world just to, I guess, channel that pain. That was also always in the back of her mind. And as soon as she gets the first clue that would lead her to the man who did this to her father, she's just laser focused on finding these people and just seek revenge.
John Wick and Eve, they both suffered loss. And so there's a commonality there. They cross paths hardcore. John Wick is on his way out of all the ramifications and consequences that he's been through. Eve is just beginning to go down that road. So there's understanding, but also a warning of, advice. I don't want to say bigger brother, but in terms of real life, of a bigger brother's been through it and says, just understand what you're getting yourself into if you go down this path.
It's been such a sort of an interesting journey that it started off as this independent movie.
When I read the script, I didn't think you could find a way to expand the world in a way that felt completely different and at the same time completely connected, but they did. And the thing that it's interesting. I was talking to Len, the director, tonight, and I asked him, are you a big fan of classics, particularly Shakespeare, because it feels very Shakespearean, because it deals with the bounds, individuals trying to assert their individuality within the bounds of the cultural restrictions. But this takes it to the level of family. So it made me think of Lear and, Hamlet, all that stuff. And the action, even though the story is incredibly cohesive, the action's off the hook.
We're already pushing it pretty good where one person can shoot 100 people. I mean, I think we're pretty fantasy already. But we want to keep it, or the vibe that was always the intent of John Wick was, we want the characters in the movie to believe it's real. What the audience sees is a hyper-real world, which is hopefully a little bit more fun, more of a grounded type anime situation than fantasy-esque or superpowers or a superhero movie.
It was full on, it was a really intense training for quite a long time. There was a lot of strength training and then just hours and hours at the stunts facility at 8711 with the most amazing stunt crew. And we just worked our way up to getting me ready to take on this kind of action at the level that I needed to be. It was a good progression of the training. We started from very basic things, which were a great foundation for the training. And then, getting more specific into designing the choreos and leaning into my strengths and the things that we knew they were easier for me to do and just kind of tailoring the fights to my comfort level. And then it was just fun to learn how to handle the guns and all the weapons that I had to use in the movie and growing in confidence and control. And I felt like I genuinely got to the point of feeling good about starting on day one in the movie, and I was ready for it.
You go in and you meet them all, and they sort of explain the scene that you're going to do, and then they take you through a 45-minute exercise regime. You feel very safe with them. You feel very, very safe with the weapons guys. They're very communicative with shouting out how many rounds, what's gonna explode behind your head? Because like you watch the movies and it looks like just somebody pushes a button and the whole room explodes. But every little squib, every little piece of marble that gets shattered off the wall is perfectly calculated, where you feel very safe going into it.
To know you're coming on a John Wick franchise is one of the most exciting things for me because of the stunts. And as soon as I was told that they had me on board, I was like, do I get to do any stunts? Do I get to fire any guns? And of course they have you on board. Yeah, I've got a whole orientation with the guns, the hand rifles. They've had me with the stunt teams doing some martial arts here and there, some fights, some punches. But one of the beautiful things of that is it's sort of like a nice way of being welcomed into the Ballerina family, and knowing that we all have a language that is unified, and that we can, even if we're just standing there, we've actually in some way lived that part of the induction.
I was nervous, I was anxious, I had butterflies. I come from a very athletic background, so when I get the opportunity to sort of have that feeling of preparation before having a game, I try to search for that in a lot of facets. So when he said, we're gonna beat you up, we're gonna train you, we're gonna show you how to learn how to use guns and fighting and specific styles for the character. I mean, I was just ready to fly to Budapest. As soon as I got that information, I was like, I need to go now.
This film, you're able to see, kind of taking a peek behind the curtain of how the Ruska Roma operates, because again, we have Eve coming into it from the beginning. And seeing how one is trained to become an assassin. What Eve goes through, you can kind of imagine that through her journey in Ruska Roma, that this is possibly what John Wick would have had to go through in some of his training. So it kind of gives you a window into the possibility of what he might have gone through in his journey for that.
Eve's just getting off in her, or just starting off in her career, so she's a little bit newer. She makes mistakes, she corrects. Emotionally, she's seeing a lot of this stuff for the first time. It's like her foray into the Wick world, and I think that's the fun part. You get to see her evolve in it and not just be a badass. You get to see her become a badass. The protagonist comes from that background of a father-daughter story of an orphan child in a ballet school that's trying to find her way, and how she deals with another orphan or another child that needs help.
Len is a great director and a great listener. He likes to collaborate. He's really open to anything you really want to throw at him. That's really cool. That's rare, actually. He's just so experienced in this kind of films, and he's so talented, and he's also very playful, and he has great sense of humor. So all of that you can see. I just had a great time with him. He's just someone very easy to work with.
The thing that was absolutely wonderful about Ana within the training, because it's a lot of work. It's so brutal. You're a character that's beginning this path. You're becoming an assassin. So you're also going to get your ass kicked. You're going to get thrashed. And she's like, cool, okay, cool, I'm in. And like we'd on set, it would be, she'd show up, show me the bruises, the marks, the scars, and they became like merit badges. She's like, I'm like, this is what it is. And the thing that she is wonderful at, you can really have the choreography down. But if it feels like you are remembering it and even doing a brilliant job, a lot of times the acting is secondary to remembering the choreography. And she is acting all through that, which is, for a director, amazing.
She's really good at memorizing fights. She's really good at mathematically putting them all down. And then she's a really good actress as well. She's very smart. She's fun to work with. She's got a great attitude. She's always smiling. She's always ready to go. Yeah, it's kind of a great team here.
She's such a nice person. I mean, she made sure that I feel I'm part of this team. What I love about her as an actor is she's just so absorbed in her character at all moments. I could tell that from her previous film.
Keanu is one of the coolest and most professional actors I've ever worked with. He's immensely dedicated.
So great to see him again, to have him with me back on set. I respect him so much. I think he's such a wonderful actor and partner. And he's so kind and generous, and he's just really down for anything. He's relentless. He just wants to do it again and again and again. He's a perfectionist, and he wants to really give the other actors and the director what they need, what they feel like they want to get.
I love what Keanu does. He speaks very slowly, and he means what he says. And if you ask him a question, he'll answer in the fewest words possible.
I think it's important that he came back again. Oh, yeah. Because if it's a reference to John Wick, also, you know, I said you and Chad, so you better make sure that it follows in the tradition. Be there for a while, set the tone. So that's why he came out early. I mean, we're only in, the fourth week of production, but they've had us all in here. So, I mean, you've had John, you've had John Wick, you've had Keanu, and then you've got me doing my bit now, and then Angelica will be coming in. So it sort of sets the tone for the rest of the movie, which I think is a good thing, and I think Ana appreciates that as well.
I mean, this role is so different because even when I do comedy, I'm playing authoritative figures that talk a lot. So one of the things that was so exciting for me about playing this role in the first place was that he was so different from anyone I'd ever played before. You can't really effectively play an archetype. You can only play a character. But, you know, kind of standing from the outside, I realized that one of the great things about Sharon, watching his growth through the films, is that you go from seeing him as a character of mystery to a character of heart. I really believe that if John Wick is the soul of these movies, Sharon is the heart.
Lance Reddick, who's like such a wonderful, wonderful human being. That's incredibly sad. He's a beautiful person to work with, and he was a joy. He's also he was such a geek fan of the genre.
I kind of hope that when people see this film, that obviously they go to enjoy the action, but at the end, maybe they do remember a little bit about someone they love, and the dreams or the nightmares of what they're capable of doing if something happened to any of them, you know, and sort of living vicariously through Eve's character of what they would do, you know, because when I've seen great films, if something happens to a loved one, I come out like wanting to see how they're doing. You know, I want to check on my sister, see how she's doing.
I think they're gonna feel right at home. You know, I think they're gonna see this film and they're gonna feel like it's a very organic extension of the franchise. It just feels like the perfect way of exploring this world from a different perspective. Now we're gonna understand what these rules are and what are the consequences if you don't obey the rules, and who's the Ruska Roma, and what are other tribes that we have in this world. And it's just really refreshing, to see, you know, someone wanting to become an assassin. Great action, you know, great set pieces. It's just going to be, you know, a lot of fun and very exciting all the way through.
I think a lot of action movies are meant to be that. It's meant to be a ride. And sometimes you're vibing on the film, sometimes you're vibing on the response of the crowd, and I think that's really important. Yeah, I don't think Ballerina the Wicks were made exclusively for theaters, but they were made with a theatrical. They're meant to get everybody going, oh yeah, here we go, this is it, he's gonna shoot everybody now. Or, oh my God, they killed this puppy. There's a cool moment when you're watching it with an audience and you hear everybody go silent, like, oh, okay, that's the oh. You know, that's where, everybody's behind the character. When, as John Wick buries his puppy, we knew the audience goes silent and nobody talked. And either that's really good or really bad. And then the first time he unwinds on people, place goes nuts. And that's a great experience. So hopefully there's enough interesting action and some interesting, get behind the lead character moments in Ballerina that make you want to ride that wave. It was done on a big format with the right colors, and I think with the music, and I think it's meant to be seen in a theater. But I think the biggest part is action is meant to be seen and go on that ride with everybody. Nobody wants to ride the roller coaster alone,